Last week, I covered the curious case of the Minnesota mosque that was allegedly bombed by a yet-to-be-found attacker way back in August. If you missed, I encourage you to check out that video. But just to recap, this mosque was allegedly attacked by an improvised explosive device, and at the time, mosque leadership said they lacked security cameras to see exactly what happened. And then they raised nearly $100,000 on GoFundMe, and then very recently they said, oh, but we do have some security cameras, just not outside ones. And there is actually some useful footage that everyone should see, because the investigation is taking too long and we want it to be done quicker. All the while, no explanation for why they withheld the security footage they did have, and no suspect identified. Despite this case being the quote top priority of the Minneapolis FBI, reported as recently as this week. And even though there is little evidence publicly available on this whodunit, media and politicians alike are comfortable assuming this is a hate-motivated incident, which is a wonderful opportunity to virtue signal.
So many more people here gathered out in the street showing their support, because in Minnesota we accept one another, we support one another, we respect one another, we live together, we work together, we succeed together.
And I want to tell you, I was so heartened when I drove up, because there were some folks who I'm pretty sure probably are not members of Dar al-Farouk, but they had signs up talking about hearts and love and you're welcome. This is the right spirit, and there is no better way to condemn the person who would throw a bomb into this mosque, this house of worship, than to react in a loving, kind, and inclusive way.
I left that video with more questions than answers and a healthy helping of frustration that nobody in position to ask them will. But as soon as I finished making that video, there was another significant development. And just like Alice in Wonderland, this story keeps getting curiouser and curiouser. The same mosque that was allegedly bombed, with the attack under investigation for more than 2 months and no results to show. The same mosque that just returned to the news headlines by releasing evidence they have inexplicably concealed until now, possibly to revive a lucrative crowdfunding campaign that tends to run dry without ongoing victimhood. That same mosque has now been allegedly burglarized. The Bloomington Police Department released this surveillance footage of 2 gorilla-masked burglars trying to steal a safe from the mosque after breaking windows to enter. This apparently occurring in the early morning hours of Friday, October 20th. Investigators report there is currently no evidence that this alleged burglary is related to the alleged bombing. They also report there is no evidence this was a hate crime either. And most notably, at least as of now, it's not even clear this was a theft, at least in any significant sense. The deputy police chief says the police are investigating a burglary or attempted burglary. I'm aware that specific details often aren't available early, but shouldn't that distinction be immediately known? Did they break in or not? And did they take something of value or not? The safe you can see the robbers moving in the footage was recovered, says the deputy chief. Apparently some petty cash and collection jars was taken, but it was an insignificant amount. And the police are still compiling a list of what was taken. So this mosque has been bombed, but fortunately the damage was minimal and nobody got hurt. And now it's been burglarized, but as of now they only stole petty cash. And nobody has been identified as a suspect. Several strands of luck in your unwinding string of misfortune. Maybe we could identify these burglars or any vehicle they may have used with outside surveillance on the premises. You'll recall that was the major problem in identifying a suspect in the bombing incident. No outside surveillance cameras. Nearly 3 months and $100,000 in donations later, it appears there still aren't external cameras. CARE Minnesota describes in a press release only footage captured on the mosque's internal camera system. Needless to say, I find this case fascinating. Even if my suspicions are way off, and this mosque and its leadership are in fact legitimate victims of hate and ongoing criminal activity, surely the community is stepping up to help them cover the cost of combating such trouble. And yet the mosque doesn't appear to be putting any of that generosity to good use to help stop these ongoing attacks. That fact alone merits serious scrutiny, and I spent some time looking for somebody, anybody, in local politics or media who might be willing to apply it. And what I found was the exact opposite of that. Check out this story from KARE 11, the local NBC station.
2.5 months ago, a coward set off a bomb at a mosque in Bloomington where people were gathered for morning prayers. 6 days ago at that exact same mosque, a robbery. It's despicable, sickening, and terrifying. So what now? I went to that mosque today to ask that question.
Well, great. We get fake news from a fake chimney sweep.
Chim chimney, chim chimney, chim chim chiri.
I stole that joke from Blonde, but non-binary Bird over here has the question entirely wrong. It's not what now, it's what then. We shouldn't advance this story forward without understanding the facts of what actually happened. Otherwise, we don't provide quality information and news. We create presumptuous and sanctimonious propaganda produced not for the purpose of finding truth, but for pushing an agenda, which is exactly what we get here. But I understand. With virtue on this scale, broadcast TV is the only signal strong enough.
Did you feel safe here before August of this year?
Yeah, we definitely did felt safe, and we had no major issues. We came to Bloomington because it was safe, and our center was in Bloomington because it was a place that you can raise your kids, a place that you can trust, that the safety here is, something that you can build your family here. That was before the incident, before it happened.
The incident. This was the incident. A bomb during the most sacred of times, morning prayer.
Then almost everything changed. Having the fear somebody would come anytime and hurt you or do something that you don't know what's gonna come next.
Okay, so you did feel safe, but that was before a very tiny handful of alleged criminals targeted your community. And now you don't feel safe anymore. Whatever happened to not all? Surely I'm not supposed to judge this guy by the standard of Islamic terrorists. So why does he get to judge the surrounding community by the standard of these attacks? Why does this guy get to complain of feeling unsafe when the community has backed him with massive cash donations and everyone in media and politics is on his side? Nobody is ever guaranteed safety, but you can build quite a lot of safety with $100 grand in your bank account and all of the backing of the state's legal and political power.
In the 2.5 months since that happened, fear finds its oxygen in two facts. One, that there have been no arrests, despite the FBI offering a $30,000 reward for any information. And two, because 6 days ago, any sense of safety they had regained was robbed of them.
Well, I'd rather be robbed of feelings than tangible assets, and it appears that's mostly what happened here. But I'm tired of everyone in media treating the fact that no suspect has been identified as some kind of circumstantial evidence of a skilled attacker or something like that. Why isn't it circumstantial evidence of something shady? Why isn't it circumstantial evidence of an inside job, for example? I'm not taking a firm stance here. There's conclusive evidence of nothing. I'm just suggesting we shouldn't take the lack of a suspect as a fear factor. We should take it as an eyebrow raiser and ask more questions.
Two people chose this mosque to target for what? To drag a safe and hope for cash? They may not have gotten any, and sure, they got away with something. But you know what? They didn't get away with everything.
Allahu Akbar.
Yours is a peaceful faith.
Yes, our faith is a peaceful faith. Allahu Akbar.
Exactly. When I hear Allahu Akbar, I know what's coming. A kind gesture of peace. And if you think that's unfair, I could be harsher. This particular mosque has been attended by men convicted of conspiring to join ISIS. But even if I try to be extra charitable and call that an anomaly, the point is there is no purpose for this news piece taking a stance on the issue of religion of peace or not. That's an opinion, and it's not relevant to the fact pattern of whether this mosque was genuinely attacked or not. It's propaganda. And it's included solely for the purpose of making sure you and I have the correct opinion.
I thank everybody at the mosque for letting us come there this morning. And Omar told me something that really kind of shook me today. He said that they learn as Muslims in the Islamic faith that when you are threatened or you fear something, run to the mosque. That's where you're safe. And that's exactly where they've been unsafe in our community for the last 2.5 months, and it's unacceptable. If you know anything about what happened in that bombing in August or the burglary last weekend, please call the Bloomington Police Department or the FBI.
Isn't it funny she closes with the most important fact of all? We know nothing about what actually happened. If that's the case, then all of your moral posturing and all of your virtue signaling and all of your condemnation is irrelevant, because all of it is built on a foundation of assumption, not a foundation of fact. Look, I hope all of my suspicions about this story are proven wrong. I hope these incidents were in fact perpetrated by someone motivated by hate. And I hope these attackers are caught and prosecuted. And I hope all of these news pieces and these political speeches are validated. And I hope it's me who looks silly. Why? Because I'd much rather have just me looking silly than an entire community, an entire political and media apparatus offering its unqualified support, an entire population of people opening up their wallets out of the kindness in their hearts, even when the facts aren't present to justify such generosity. But I'm not optimistic for that outcome, because I'm not persuaded that anybody in power here is willing to ask the questions necessary to discover what really happened. It seems they're far more interested in ensuring you and I perceive this case in a way they deem politically correct than ensuring we all perceive it factually. It's a great recipe for virtue, not a great recipe for truth. So call me a scumbag if you want, I really don't mind. Besides some cheap laughs, all I'm really after are those scummy facts. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel always. Appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below, and especially over on Twitter. That is at ML Christensen. You're always welcome to come hang out and chat in my live streams. Those are linked down in the description. Looking forward to it.